favorite things to do is to create custom piping, whether it be on a domestic sewing machine or on a serger. I think it always adds a little bit of extra detail to any project you are creating. We're going to look at creating custom piping on your serger. The first thing you're going to do is make sure that you're set up for 3-thread overlock wide. So I have my needle thread in the left needle, and I'm using my upper and my lower looper. I'm going to leave my tensions based on what was indicated in the information in the instruction and reference guide. The one thing that I do when I'm creating piping is I do lengthen my stitch length anywhere between a 3.5 and a 4. And the next thing that you're going to use is actually the cording foot. And the great thing about the cording foot is you flip it over and you look at the back side, you can see that nice groove. And when I'm creating my piping, I have an 1/8 inch cable cord is what I use, and you can see how easily that fits right in that groove. Let's go ahead and change out our presser foot. We'll take the standard presser foot off, and we're going to slide the piping foot in place. And the easiest way I think to do that is start from the front and move it back. What you want to make sure when you're changing out these feet is that you don't get any of those threads caught on that little pin as you lower the presser foot. My piping foot is in place. Now what I have done is I have pre-cut my strips, and this is an 1.5 inch wide strip, and I actually prefer bias because I think I get a better look with my piping using bias. I'm going to place my cording in between or on the wrong side of that fabric and then wrap that fabric around that cording. Now I do one other thing, and I find it very helpful, is there are fabric glue sticks that are awesome. And what you're going to do, and the reason that they're so awesome or great, is because I can put a little bit of glue there, wrap this around, and this will hold this in place while I'm trying to put everything underneath the presser foot. It's almost like it's acting like a third finger. Again, I'm going to slide that cording underneath the foot, aligning it with that groove, and I want to make sure that I have a little bit of cording on the back side to hang on to. I'm going to lower that presser foot, and I'm going to start stitching, and I'm going to take a couple of stitches a little on the slower side just so that I catch everything. At this point, the cording is not being caught by the stitching. The stitching is directly to the right of that cording. You can see that little ridge there. I always like to make sure that I see that little ridge. That way I know that that cording is seated into that spot. And this little tick that you see on the front of the machine is an indication of where that guide is for that cording. So we continually just wrap around, and we're going to stitch. Pull that cording back away so it doesn't wrap up into my stitching. And we'll stitch down the entire length of this fabric piece to create our first row of, or our first piece of our custom piping. Now, as I near the end, what I'm going to do is I always make sure that I try to follow my fabric as closely as I can to the presser foot so that it doesn't slide to the left or the right. I'm not going to need this entire length of cording, so I'm simply going to snip my cording and just continue to stitch. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our custom piping because once we're done. Look at how beautiful that is. Can you see how tight that needle got to that cording and how pronounced that cording is? That truly is professional and custom piping, all on the Baby Lock Vibrant with the optional cording foot.